I was crazy. Now, in fact, now.
Getting ready to get started. Hope you guys are excited. We're going to be taking questions as well, so just let us know. Type your questions in, and we will get to them. Hey guys, so I'm Joe Kotosh. Thank you for coming. This is How to Make Money in Real Estate. I'm a realtor at Compass. We actually have an office located in this building up on 15. This is Charbel Shamoun. He's a lender with Pro Mortgage, and so the goal of today is we want to talk to you a little bit about how to make money in real estate. I do want to emphasize this is an interactive session. This isn't us talking to you. If you guys have questions, any questions whatsoever, at any point, please just stop us, ask us. There are no silly questions, there are no bad questions. So with that being said, we'll get started. So as I said, I'm over at Compass, and I've been in real estate for over 5 years. And in that time, I've helped my clients make money in all types of real estate. So residential, commercial, and investments. And you know, the nice thing about Chicago is we have a very diverse property housing stock. So you can find condos, 2-flats, single-family homes, all sorts of investment opportunities, whether they're personal residence or pure investments. That being said, I'll let Charbel kind of tell his story.
Born and raised, guys, Northside Chicago, went to UIC, Lane Tech, just the north side of my entire life. And when I graduated at UIC from 02, I got introduced to the lending industry. And when I was asked, do you know anything about mortgages, I'll be honest, I couldn't define what a mortgage was. And I grew up in a household where if you didn't have the money, you couldn't buy it. There was no such thing as a loan. And back in 2002, if you guys ever watched a movie like Big Short, you didn't need to know what a mortgage was. If you had a heartbeat or a fake ID, I would give you money. As bad as that sounds. So, been doing this for almost over 15 years, and just happy to be here.
And one other thing I'd like to note before we really get started, we are streaming this online as well. So we do have people watching that can also ask questions. So again, this is really about interaction. So if you have questions, let us know. Otherwise, we'll start talking. And
before we start talking, I love the room is filled with like first-time buyers, probably investors. I always like to ask the question: who in the room already owns real estate?
Good.
And who in the room is looking to maybe purchase something as a principal residence to live in this year or in the next 24 months? And who in the room is thinking about purchasing an investor property? I'd like to always gauge the room. So obviously, as you guys can see, we got first-time buyers, we got investors. So if somebody ever asks a question that you guys are not completely understanding it, allow us to answer it, but always keep in mind, after the event, we'll be more than happy to go more in depth. Because we don't ever want to bore somebody regarding something that not everyone is understanding.
So, great point, thank you, Charbel. And so, as you can see, we define 4 different types of home buyers here. So, people who are buying for the first time, and it looks like the majority would be first-time home buyers here. So, again, understanding what it takes to get pre-approved, what it takes to write an offer, what you need to know in terms of what you do after your offer has been accepted, and how you get the home to close. Additionally, next home buyers. I know we had a few people that raised their hand that they currently own their home. So in Chicago, the average homeowner lives in a home for about 3 to 4 years. So being that circumstances in life change, sometimes some people need to upsize, some people want to downsize a home, some people are empty nesters. And so your circumstances are always changing, and that oftentimes reflects in what type of property you're looking to buy. Also, as Charbel alluded to, investors, landlords, people that are buying buildings or units in a building just for the ability to rent it out to tenants for profit. And then lastly, flippers. And you probably watch HGTV or those flipping shows, and those are opportunities where you can find distressed properties or properties at good values that you can do something to enhance the property and sell for a profit. So those are the 4 major types, and again, we'll be happy to talk about anything and get questions about. If you don't feel we're covering it, just raise your hand and let us know. So,
you know what, and to add to what Joe just said, I'm a huge guy who like success stories. I always like to use examples of current scenarios. Doing this for so long, I always like to look back. And it's funny is, when I got in the industry, people say, man, you have no experience, you have no experience. I'm like, yeah, whatever, I don't need experience. Now I look back, oh my God, life's about experience. I'm already at the age where I'm like, man, my dad told me that and I should have listened to him earlier. But to use one good example of a great example is one of my best friends. He purchased a multi-unit building. It was a 3-unit building. When he bought this 3-unit building in the west side of Chicago, right on really River West, Milwaukee and Chicago Avenue, he bought a 3-unit, put down 3.5%. Put down 3.5%, lived in 1 floor and rented the other 2. While he lived in this place for 5 years, he made his garden unit legally to rent. So now he had a legal 4-unit. He rented the garden unit. Well, with the 3 rents that he got, he lived for free. Got married, had 2 kids. Now the place that he's living in is way too small for his family of 4. So he moved to Glenview. Now his home that he purchased in Glenview is paid for through the 4-unit building. The 4-unit building pays for his mortgage in the city and the house in Glenview. So he went from an owner-occupied first-time buyer to an investor, and now this multi-unit building is paying for 2 properties. That's like, it doesn't happen all the time, but that's a great success story.
Yeah. And along that line of success, so if you caught the slide, I used to work at the NBA, I was a sports agent, negotiated lots of deals, and I'm big on team success, and you should look at the home buying process as having a team that represents you. So it's not just choosing the realtor, it's choosing a lender, finding an attorney. We'll go into all the reasons why you need to have certain vendors in Illinois during the home buying process. In addition, it's good to note that you do have to have home insurance when you're buying a home and having the right insurance agent. These are all people that can help you save money, create ways to find additional sources of revenue, in some cases with the attorney, the lender, the realtor, etc. And we'll go into greater detail a little bit later, unless anybody has any questions right now. Okay. So, why do you want to work with a realtor? One of the reasons it's important in today's market to work with realtors is there are more home buyers right now than ever before. The millennial demographic is out buying homes, and they are the largest home buying group you've ever seen. And specifically, with competition drives prices, okay? So in order to save money when you're purchasing a property, you want to be able to find a realtor who can adeptly find you deals off market or find values in a market with listings that are currently active. So one of the things I would point out is we're not only negotiating, as you would imagine, we're also trying to identify properties. And for most of you, you have jobs. So if you're working a full-time job in order to qualify to buy a home, you obviously don't want to spend all your free time then searching for homes. And this is where a realtor can really help you by identifying what you're looking for in a home, sending you properties to review, and ultimately giving you comparable properties to explain to you why this is a value. And ultimately, all that work can be condensed down to a quick 5-minute report, a quick, back and forth over a phone call or email that you can check when at your leisure versus spending hours on the computer identifying homes, trying to find open houses, trying to find properties that may not even be on the market yet. We're going to have Charbel explain some mortgage lingo for you.
So the room is filled with 50-50 people that purchase, people that are first-time buyers. I don't want to bore you guys to death, but it's just always good to maybe define these mortgage lingos. An appraisal, basically it's a real estate appraiser, an expert that goes to the property, takes probably 10 or 15 minutes, measures the unit, sees how the unit is put together, and goes back and does a report to tell you what the value of the home is. Closing costs. When buying a home, anytime I sit down with somebody, there's two things they always want to focus on. Is what is my payment and what it's going to cost. So when you're buying a home for the first time or second time, the city or the village that you're purchasing, there's always certain costs that you should know about. Credit score. I always tell people, when they're getting qualified for a mortgage, there's three major aspects of qualifying. It's credit, income, assets. In today's world, you have to have a certain requirement of credit scores to qualify. You can qualify as low as having a 580 FICO score. I recommend always being above 680. However, there's programs as low as 580. Down payment. In the past, in the 80s, in the 90s, if you didn't have 20%, you couldn't qualify to buy a mortgage, to obtain a mortgage. Now, there's programs as low as 3%. And to be honest, there's programs as low as zero down payment. Now, unfortunately, the majority of those programs are for veterans, but there's certain grants that you can still qualify for to get low down payment programs. Mortgage rates. I mean, I'm not sure if you guys are paying attention to the media. Rates are maybe an all-time low in the last 10 years. Last year, unfortunately, towards the second half of the year, we saw rates go up 50 to 75 basis points. In the last 2 weeks, they dropped right back down. So basically, they're trying to push the economy to say, we're doing great, let's take advantage of these low interest rates. Pre-approval. If you're looking to buy in the next 12 to 24 months, you should always look to get pre-approved. And what does it entail with pre-approval? Basically, depending on the lender that you talk to, pre-approval is where you set up an appointment either over the phone or in person, and we ask them to put together the last 2 years of your tax returns, W-2s, and your most recent pay stubs. With those documents, that's going to allow us to see what you can qualify for. So, you got a question?
So, with the appraisal process, what goes into that to be able to assess the value of a home? That's question one. Question two is, what's the recommended down payment?
Perfect. Let me get that.
Yeah, actually, I also wanted to say we actually have a little prize for the first person to ask the question.
We like prizes.
And one other note, by the way, if you look on your sheet, the terms that Charbel just went over are on there. It might be on the back of the sheet if you look. It's not very far view, and it has a little breakdown of what it is. So, go ahead, please.
Awesome. So for the appraisal, when you get back in the days, let's say 10 years ago, I could pay any appraiser to go out to the property. Now it's a third-party company that has no relationship with that person. So you go through a system, appraiser goes out there. When they're going out there, they're looking at the condition of the property. They're looking at the square footage, the bedroom count, the bath. So when they go back to their home and their office, they're evaluating within, you could say, a half a mile radius. Now, if you're appraising a home in the suburbs, let's say Clinton Park, they probably got to go within a mile radius. But if they're appraising a home as a condo in River North, they're going to first look at what's sold in the building that's comparable to that unit. So if you're buying a 2-bed, 2-bath in a 64-unit building, they don't want to leave the building. They want to compare it to what's in the building. So, and the majority of the time, the higher the floor and the better the quality, the higher the price. So usually, most appraisers want to look at the last 3 to 6 months. So if you bought a 2-bed, 2-bath, $420,000 last year, it could be priced different in the spring or summer of 2019. Second question, you had a question about interest rates. Down payment. So, recommend, you know what, it's all opinion-wise. My biggest thing is with down payment is don't focus too much on the down payment, focus more on what you feel comfortable paying every month. Like I have clients, I'll be honest with you, I get clients, guys that sit down with me, single or married, they can qualify for $1 million. But when I show them the payment, they're like, are you crazy? You can't travel, you can't go to dinner, you can't do nothing. So really, when you ask what's my recommendation, you could probably qualify for like a 5% down payment program where your payment is $2,500, but you know you're budgeting for $1,800. So then we would work backwards. Okay, you want $1,800, you have to put down a $15 down payment program to get to that $1,800. So really, it's like you want to work backwards, you know. But there's programs. I have a lot of clients, to be honest with you, they're just coming out of college, they're getting their awesome $80,000 to $120,000 salary job, but guess what? They have no savings. So they're making great salaries, but they have nothing saved up. So they're putting out 3%, and they just have a higher payment for a short period of time until they pay down the principal. So it's case by case.
Yeah.
Well, great question. Any other questions, guys? We like when you guys ask questions.
Joe, how do you
Yes.
work with fix and flippers?
So when it comes to flipping properties, again, it's on a case-by-case basis. So for each investor, you want to understand what is the objective. So in some cases, experienced flippers will say, I want a project that's going to give me 10% on my money. Now, does 10% mean they're buying cash? Does that mean they're paying down payment and then including whatever upgrades or rehab costs they have? Where's that 10% coming from? But for instance, just using that as an example, if you bought a home and put down $100,000 and then spent another $100,000 in terms of rehab costs, your actual down money in whatever your holding costs are would be about $20,000. That would be 10%. So they're looking to say, hey, I want to make $20,000 when I sell this. So, negating whatever closing costs that Charvel alluded to, commissions, etc. So, it's important to identify, are you looking at condos? Are you looking at single-family homes? Are you looking at multi-units? Does everybody here understand the difference between a multi-unit and a multi-family? Okay. All right. So, in our industry, multi-unit buildings are defined as 2 to 4 units. So if you go in an area like Wicker Park, for example, you're going to see a lot of 3 flats, buildings that have 3 apartment units in them. When you look at units that have 5 units or more, you'll see them. It might not be as obvious, and there aren't as many of them. Those are considered multi-family. There is a difference with multi-family because it requires commercial renting. So in that case, what Charles was talking about, which is for residential, there's a little difference in terms of how you qualify. Either way, it's always good to start with what kind of product you want, what kind of project you want as well to handle, and then ultimately looking from neighborhood to neighborhood or project to project, and then going in and actually examining. It's really important on flips in particular that you trust your realtor when they're pulling cops, because again, everything you're doing on a flip is based on projections. If the numbers are off slightly, that's a big difference between a 10% return and a 0% return. So you want to make sure that that's the case. Does that answer your
Yes,
question?
it does. Thank you.
Any other questions related to that? There's also one other investment stock I do want to mention since I brought up multi-use, multi-unit, multi-family. There's also something called mixed use. Mixed use of buildings where if you walk down, say, Belmont or Division, for example, you'll see retail space, a restaurant, an insurance office, whatever, on the first floor, and there are apartments above it. In most cases, those will be considered commercial again. However, there are some instances, Charbel can tell you about, where you can actually get conventional lending in those cases.
Case by case, but yes, there's property where there's a 2-unit building, there's commercial on the first floor, they just all came up.
So it's multi-unit units simply,
It's 2 to 4 units. So if anybody online can't hear, he was just asking what multi-unit consists of. So it's got to have at least 2 units in the building, no more than 4 units. Anything higher than 4 is going to be multi-family, and that's going to be commercial. One thing about Chicago's housing stock is you'll see from time to time coach houses. And coach houses can sometimes be tricky because those aren't always considered legal units. So sometimes people will buy a building that has 4 units in the front and then has a coach house in the back, or has 5 units with a coach house somewhere. And those coach houses can sometimes be considered void and not treated as a residential property, and you can actually treat it as 40 units. So, Charbel wants to.
Yeah, I mean, similar to what I said, guys, if you look at rates from the 70s till now, I mean, there was times where I know when I looked at my papers document, my parents' documents in the 80s and 90s, rates were 15, 16, 17%. And since 2003, 2004, I'll never forget it, it was I think the summer of 2005, rates went down to 5.25. And I was calling people, they said, there's no way they're 5.25. They were like kissing my hand, they couldn't believe it. People were going crazy. And then it was Thanksgiving of last year. I told people rates were 5.25. I thought I was committing murder. People were like, you're ripping me off. I said, just a couple years ago, rates were 15 or 16%. So historically, guys, rates right now are in the mid to lower 4s. And to be honest, there's a ton of programs, rates are in the 3s for certain different programs. So rates are good.
Sure. Actually, one other thing with rates, do you want to explain what a adjustable rate mortgage is versus a?
Yeah. So Joe was asking different types of interest rates. So basically, there's a ton of different programs and products, but there's what's called like a 30-year fix or an adjustable rate mortgage. Obviously, the 30-year fix is your common rate that does not move for 30 years, and after 30 years, you pay off your home. But Joe, like he alluded in the beginning, majority of people will leave their home within the first 3 or 5 years. So a lot of clients, they're like, you know what, Charbel, Joe, I'm not looking to keep this place long term. This is my beginner 1-bedroom condo. I'm going to sell it after 3 years. So why not go into a program what's called an adjustable rate mortgage? The rate is fixed for 5 years, and let's just say after 5 years, if you're still in this place, you have the option to refinance or pay it off. Process to buy. That's back to me. So when you're in the middle of looking at buying your first home, unfortunately, majority of the time people call Joe first. They want to see the property. But then what Joe does, which is in a smart way, he says, hey, before I take you out, I don't want to get your hopes up. Why don't you sit down with Charbel? So what happens is in the beginning, you should always sit down with your trusted lender and break down all your options. Because why go fall in love with this penthouse condo and not know what that payment is? Understand what your requirements are, understand what you feel comfortable with, and then step out with Joe.
And I can't emphasize that enough. It's a very common thing. People reach out, you know, whether it's coming through an open house, seeing a sign on a building, or just reaching out because they know a realtor. They say, I want to buy a house, or I want to see this property. And it's always a good idea, as Charbel said, meet with that lender, because once we have that pre-approval, once we have that budget in mind, it helps me work with you to work on locations and neighborhoods, styles and finishes, and condos or single families. So it really helps us kind of pinpoint what you're looking for. And right now, is the spring market in Chicago. So in Chicago, our spring market is actually the busiest time of the season. It's when the most buyers are on the market. It's when the most inventory is on the market. So when you're out there looking, what happens is you actually will go look at a property that maybe just came out on Monday, and by Friday, there's already multiple offers on it. And so it's a good idea to always be on top of that. Just a personal example, I just listed a property on Monday. It's a investment property, mixed use in Avondale, which is a really hot area, and we've already got multiple offers. We've already called for highest and best, and this is where, in some cases, people have reached out to me, but they aren't pre-approved, and they're at a disadvantage because now they have to race to talk to a lender like Charbel to get pre-approved in order to submit an offer to buy that building for the deadline for that offer. One other thing I want to point out, there's 3 abbreviations under review of visit properties, and this is where me as a realtor really adds value for you when you're looking for a property. So PLN stands for private listing. TAN stands for the top agent network. MLS stands for multiple listing service. So regarding the private listing network and the top agent network, these are platforms where we will find you properties before they've gone on the market. So if you go on Redfin or Zillow and are looking at properties, you're not going to see them until they hit the market or activated on the market. On private listing network and on top agent network, we will see those before they hit the market. We'll have the opportunity to get you in some cases, weeks, if not longer, before anyone else can, which is really an advantage, especially when you're trying to make money in real estate, because the more competition drives up the price, and you want to avoid that. So, top agent network is a for top producing broker. I believe it's top 5%. So it's when you're working with someone, if they have access to TAN, it's going to really be where there's a lot of volume. These are all brokers that list a lot of properties and work with a lot of buyers. And then obviously CMAs, that goes to what I said earlier, comparable properties, kind of helping you understand where we came to for how much value of property, how much to offer.
Quick question.
Yes.
Actually, 2 questions.
Yes.
First, for you, does it make sense to get rid of passive?
It's always good to have a team in place, whether you're actively looking or not, because he was asking if it's good to have a realtor in place, even if you're not in an urgent sense of looking for property. It's always useful for 2 reasons. If you see a great deal, do you want to miss out on it? Because chances are, if you're just relying on Redfin or Zillow, you're going to miss out on it. I yesterday just worked with a client. I found the property on Monday, sent it out to a Monday night, wrote a cash offer yesterday, and we got it accepted today. And so because of that, it was because I was out there scouring for properties for this client. And I've been working with him for over a year. We've tried to buy properties previously, and we found the right one just this week. So it does help. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna, kick down your door, badger you, hey, we gotta go see properties every week. But as long as you're clear about what it is you're looking for, we'll keep our eyes open. And when those properties come available, we'll share them with you. And likewise, it's just nice to have that team in place. If you see something you like, you have somebody you already know and trust. You have a team with us, like myself or Sherlock. Let me get a second question.
Yeah, so for you, to be pre-approved, like, how long does that last? What is it for first?
Yeah, so typically I always tell people that pre-approval is good for almost like 4 months. However, if you say, you know what, hey, Charbel, I'm looking to maybe buy something 2020, there's what's called the inquiry on your credit report. So there's ways around where I don't have to pull your credit and see what your scores are. So I have clients like, Charbel, I'm definitely going to buy in the spring of 2020, so then I'll guide you to a website where it won't be a hard inquiry, and I will still pre-approve you. It's really not pre-approval, it'll be like a pre-qualification, because you're not really looking to purchase this year, but we'll get you on the right step to get ready for next year. Because, and the reason why I always say I like to have clients come in a year or 2 years prior, because you are probably looking at your credit score via like your Chase credit card or Credit Karma. Those scores are horrible. They're not accurate. But there's other websites where I can lead you to where you have a more accurate score. Like I had a client I had a client that had like a $30 ComEd collection for 2 years, and this client score dropped 100 points because that collection from ComEd was going to their old rental apartment, and they never knew. You know, but Charlotte, my Credit Karma score was 750. I said, yeah, Credit Karma's not picking up that ComEd collection. When I pull the credit, it does pick it up. So, next one.
And one other thing, I apologize to add to what you're saying. I have had a lot of clients who have come back to me and asked, you know, we want to buy a house, we want to do it now. Now they're talking to the lender. They can't get pre-approved by any lender because their credit score is shot and they need to work on improving it. So it's good to know where you stand in advance. And obviously, you know, talk to the lender, get pre-qualified, get pre-approved, just to see where you stand, so that when it is that time for you to buy, you don't have to wait 6 months or a year to get your credit score up. And like, just as a precautionary, so that's another reason why I definitely would talk to the lender.
Yeah, like one good success story, guys, is, you know, both Joe and I work with a ton of athletes in Chicago, and I had one athlete, or you could say former athlete, was on TV on ESPN for what was that one documentary they did for like when they went broke. It was 30 for 30, where the athlete broke. This athlete was a Chicago athlete that was on that website, on that TV show, and said, I was broke. He came to me. I said, this is what we need to do to get you back where you can be perfect. His score went from 520 to 780. Now he's living in a $1 million property in the western suburbs because he went about it the right way. And he was on national television telling everyone he went broke. So it's always, the more you can prepare, the better.
Yeah, lenders, they have the ability to help you keep your credit score up if you're in a situation. Yeah, so, you know, basically go to your financial advisor.
So moving back to the process here, so once we identify those properties, once we've written our offers, we've negotiated, the offer's been accepted, there's a couple other things to note. So in Illinois, you have 3 contingency phases that are guaranteed to you, provided they're applicable. So the first contingency is inspection. So when you buy a property or agree to buy a property, you have the right to inspect that property. You're looking for faults in the property, whether it's, you know, old HVAC system, whether it's mold, whether it's a crack in the foundation, whatever the case is. And this goes back to the whole team, why it's good to have a team in place, because in Illinois you have to use a licensed, you don't have to, but you should use a licensed inspector to identify these properties. Once they've seen the property, they're going to generate a report. Off that report, your realtor, you, and your attorney are going to talk about what issues you see, what possibly work you want done by the seller prior to closing, if you want a credit at the time of closing for whatever issues there are, etc.
So I love this slide, and I didn't even take a chance to look at it earlier. So I want to just dumb it up as much as possible. This client right here that you see in the picture put multiple offers on multiple properties. And one of the properties that Joe put in, he won the bid, and they accepted his offer. So just like Joe says in the first slide, make an offer and negotiate. They accepted the offer. Just because they accepted the offer doesn't mean this is your home. The only time it's your home is when Charbel and Joe are giving you the bottle of glue and taking a picture. And that's when you smile. But prior to that, Joe's going through the contingencies. So this client, I think it was 3 properties, went under contract twice. Due to inspection and due to that home being too much of a risk, he decided to kill the file. Now, let's say Joe gets past the inspection items. I had a client, unfortunately, the week of closing, got fired from their job. So guess what? I'm calling 48 hours before they're buying their home. Does John Doe work there? No, he got fired. So guess what? The deal is dead. Now, being they cannot obtain financing, they can get their earnest money back because unfortunately he wasn't ready to get fired. So keep in mind the home is not yours until we're at the closing.
And so along that line of that contingency financing, as Charbel said, it's only applicable if you are getting financing. So if you're buying cash, you don't have a financing. See, there are cases though where when you are buying with financing, you can actually waive the financing contingency. It's not something I would advise, it's not something Charbel would advise. It's ultimately the last contingency in the process you have, and it's gonna be closer to the date of the closing, so it's always a good contingency to have for your protection. And really the biggest contingency, in my opinion, the one that takes the longest in the home buying process, is the attorney review. During that modification period, the attorneys are going to go back and forth on the buy side and the sell side, discussing title, whether there's any defects on the title, ordering survey to identify the actual land and if there's any encumbrances on it, discussing proration taxes. Very technical stuff you don't necessarily want to know about right now, we can talk about more later. But ultimately, these are the three contingencies. You can waive the inspection, you can waive the financing, you can waive the attorney if you need it, but generally speaking, those are for your protection as a buyer. You do want those. I don't know if there's anything else.
Any question? I have a question.
So, as Charbel said, so after we get through those contingencies, the property's yours. So we go to the title office, we close, you get to celebrate, and really, this is where the how to make money part comes into play. You spent the money, now you got to make the money. So it often is the case, if you're buying a home for yourself, you usually don't want to buy it and move in the same day. You probably want to buy it and then potentially have a contractor or a handyman come in, do work. If you're buying it to flip, once you buy it, you want to take possession of the property, you want to start your gutting of the property, rehabbing of the property, whether it's a partial or a full gut rehab, whether it's remodeling, etc. One other thing I would note when it comes to making money in real estate, when you are doing certain rehab work in Chicago, you do have to get permits in some cases. So it's always advisable to talk to an attorney and see what steps you need in order to get those permits.
One thing, guys, is like, in today's world, the internet is way too much information. At the end of the day, whatever career you guys are in, you guys are experts in that industry. So I would always recommend putting together what Joe said at the beginning of this whole presentation, is putting together your best team. And in life, as we get older, we tend to forget that we stop learning when we come out of college. But if we put her on the right team, having the right doctor, having the right CPA, having the right financial planner, as you get older, you realize you got to put experts in your life. And the more experts you put, the more trust you put, they're going to help you make the right decisions. Joe and I will never tell you what to do, but we will give you our expert advice. You guys will take that advice and make the right decision. But if you ask enough questions and we give you enough knowledge, you'll always make the right decision.
Just a couple other things I would also add along those lines. So when it comes to the making money part, it's always good to talk to your lender throughout the process, even after you've bought, because as Charbel said earlier, you can refinance to get lower payments. Talk to your realtor to see if you're flipping a property or if you're thinking of selling a property. With enough time, you can potentially do other upgrades to the property prior to listing it. In today's market, buyers more than ever want something that's turnkey ready. They want something that looks good, they don't have to do work to it, and they will get a premium for it, whether it's new construction or gut rehab. So those are things to note, because who's ultimately going to have a better sense on what is in demand right now with buyers? The realtor. And who's going to know more about the rates and how you can be saving money? The lender. And this is where, even though you bought the home, it's yours, we can still be part of the process to help you save and make money.
Success story. Joe and I had a client that purchased a home in the West Town area in September of last year. Let's say they purchased it for, I want to say $750. In September of last year, they got an interest rate. In the last 2 weeks, I called Joe. I said, Joe, can you let me know this client did this to the house? Do you think their home is worth more than $750? He said, Charbel, I think it's worth $820. Because if they updated the bathroom, they put paint, they did a little landscaping, there's some new sales in the area that help them. He said, Joe, if their home is worth $820, I can drop their interest rate at 0.5% because the rates drop. I can help them save $350 in less than 6 months. The client didn't know what was going on. Called the client, I said, do you want to save $320 and it doesn't cost you $1? There's no way, Charbel. We're closing next Monday. This Monday coming up. Their interest rate went down 0.5%. Their home appreciated $60,000 in less than 6 months, and it didn't cost them $1, it saved $300. All because Joe and I kept in touch.
So, just another great example of how you can make money. It doesn't always have to be the flip. It can be home ownership, but home ownership, property, real estate are the biggest drivers in wealth for most people. And this is where, again, having an experienced team that knows what they're doing and how to negotiate and how to maneuver through the home buying process can ultimately help you make money. So, Charbel, if you want to maybe add a little bit about these slides.
Yes.
So, as renters,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, these slides, when you, majority of us, if we're buying our first place, we talk to an accountant, we talk to a CPA. The first they're going to ask you, hey, are you married? Do you have kids? No, I'm single. They're going to say, you have no deductions. How much you pay in rent? $2,000. You know that $2,000 that you're throwing away in rent is not a deduction. Now, I'm not telling you home buying is for everybody, because I sometimes recommend to rent if you're not ready to purchase. But, however, if you weigh the pros and cons, when you own a home, 100% of the interest that you pay on your mortgage is a deduction. 100% of your tax bill is a deduction. Now, there's new laws out there. If it's over $10,000, probably not all of it. But if you have a mortgage for like $2,200, almost $250 to $300 is a pure deduction. Whereas if you're paying rent for $2,000, none of it's a deduction.
yeah, and the way I like to break it down for people, if you're paying $2,000 a month in rent, you're spending $24,000 a year. If you're paying $2,000 a month on a mortgage, you're building wealth and equity at $24,000 a year. And the big difference is, I'm taking away $24,000 out of your pocket. You obviously, if you're trying to make money, this is a great way to do it. Home ownership really creates that opportunity. As you see, if anybody's thinking of being a landlord, it's a great time to be a landlord because we have all-time record pricing, and this is why Charbel says.
These are great historical facts. 40 and 19, I obviously could see definitely a great time right now. I mean, rents are at an all-time high right now.
So, as you can see, this quote we pulled from Forbes for you kind of goes to what I alluded to earlier. Again, this is wealth. For most people, buying and selling property is going to be the most expensive purchase of their lifetime. Every time you buy a home, you're buying something that's 6 figures or 7 figures in most cases. And so it's important that when you do it with that mind of what is your plan, what is your strategy, and how are you going to make that money. So here's our contact information. If anyone, yes.
Can y'all talk more about the upfront fees that go into buying a home?
Yes. So everything we talked today, too, guys, is we could recap with an email, a phone call, more one-on-one sit down. But like I mentioned before, when I sit down with somebody, there's 2 things they always want to know. Sure, what is my payment and what are my costs? It's like I'm a broken record. I do these 4 or 5 times a day. I get clients come to my office and I tell them, when you're buying a home in the city of Chicago, I can tell you right up front, the first closing cost item, other than your down payment, is going to be your home inspection. Home inspection will cost you anywhere between $300 to $500. The second closing cost item is going to be a real estate attorney. A real estate attorney will be $500 to $700. Your third,
so I gotta get checked in too. In a lot of cases, at least with our group, we also have pre-negotiated rates with a lot of vendors. So, for instance, if you're working with an inspector, you'll get a discounted rate. If you're working with an attorney, in some cases they'll waive their fee or discount their fee in some cases as well.
yes, thank you for finding that out. So first fee, inspection. Second fee, real estate attorney. Third fee, back in the days when you bought a home, you didn't have to have insurance. About 7 years ago, they made it mandatory. If you're going to purchase a home and you're going to get a home loan, you have to have homeowner's insurance. If the majority of you guys are renting, your renters for a condo is probably $7 to $10 a month. If you own a condo, it could be anywhere between $30 to $40 a month. So when you buy a home, you have to pay 1 year worth of insurance up front. Your fourth closing cost item is going to be any lender you work with, there's going to be an underwriting fee. And that can be anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500. Now those are 4 important fees, but now comes the big fees that no one likes, but you have to pay. They're a one-time fee. Number 5 is Chicago City tax stamps. When you go buy a bottle of water for 99 cents, you walk out and get a penny back when you pay $8.18. Pay tax. So when you buy a property in the city of Chicago, they charge you $7.50 per thousand. And so if you're buying a $300,000 condo, you're probably paying $2,500 for a one-time transfer stamp fee. And the other expensive fee, unfortunately, that you have to pay for is title insurance. Title insurance is basically the title of the property. When you're purchasing this property, the title company is going to say, they're going to issue a policy that says, hey, there's no liens on this property. The only person that's on this is yourself and your lender. And that policy could be anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500. So if you add up all those closing cost fees, it can be anywhere between $6,000 to $7,000 to $8,000. Now most people are like, man, I can't afford that. That's okay. There's times where Joe negotiates a program where the seller says, hey, I'll give your buyer $7,000 worth of closing costs to cover those costs. So, did that answer your question? Yeah.
And one other thing I would add too regarding fees as well, it's important to note, especially for first-time home buyers, realtor fees, the buyer does not pay for. Okay, you don't have to write a separate check to pay those commissions. So it's something that's paid out of the sale. The seller pays for it in that sense. So that's another fee that you do save. And then for everyone who has a mind towards investments as well, one other thing to note, when you're flipping properties, whether they're primary residence or not, when you're getting for the first time, there's something called a 1031 like-kind exchange program. And so when you buy and sell a property, potentially you are at risk for paying taxes, capital gains taxes. I believe it's 2 years at a primary residence.
Now Joe's losing me.
Okay.
So that's where I'm going to give him a tip where he's getting so detailed that I'm in the industry for 15 years and I get lost.
So what I'm just gonna say on that as a quick topic is there's ways where you can actually shield your property from being liable for any tax payments with the appreciation. So if you buy it for $200,000, you sell it for $300,000, you don't have to cut a check to the government as a capital gains. You can actually protect that $100,000 profit.
So I'm not sure if Joe can tell you, Joe's also an attorney by trade. He's got a law degree, so this is a law degree coming out.
Yes. Always like to use it. Other questions?
Awesome. Was this helpful, guys? Yeah. Great. Awesome. Now, awesome. Thank you so much for coming, guys. Obviously, we can sit with you guys, each one of you one-on-one, and do this an hour or two. There's only so much. We don't want to bore you to death. But please reach out to us, set up a one-on-one, ask us any additional questions, email us tonight, shoot us a text. Like Joe and I said earlier, the more questions you ask, the better decisions you'll make.
Yeah. And also, if you follow us on social media, one thing we're doing at Joe Kotash Group is we're doing a property of the week, a deal of the week. So we're telling our followers, this is a property we've identified. It doesn't necessarily mean it's one of our properties either. It's just a property we've seen that we think is a good investment. So always pay attention. We're always trying to find ways to help you make money any way we can. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Good job, man.
Thank you.
Nice team.
Do we get it fixed that
So I actually, so I have